All right, so for question number 23, it says, this year, a flood devastated a small river town. Hollywood, also a river town, responded with an outpouring of aid in which a majority of its residents participated. So, majority, so that's more than 50%, a proportion that far surpassed that of a few years ago when Hollyville sent aid to victims of a highly publicized earthquake. Okay, so that's saying that Hollyville, also a river town, responded with a lot of aid that a majority of our residents participated in, and it was a larger proportion than a few years ago when the same town sent aid to victims of a highly publicized earthquake. So I'm already thinking, like, well, maybe because they can relate because they are a river town, so they know what it's like. This year's circumstances were a reversal of last year's, when Hollyville itself was the scene of a deadly tornado. And so that the recipient rather than the supplier of emergency, so like this happened so they were a victim of a deadly tornado last year, and they must have had a lot of emergency aid too. So we're looking for something that would explain why this happened. Why were they more likely to give aid this year comparatively to a couple years ago? The situation described above most closely conforms to which of the following generalizations? A, people are more likely to aid people they know than they are to aid strangers. That's irrelevant. We don't know if this neighboring town is strangers or not. B, those who have received aid are more likely to be in favor of government relief programs than those who have not. Government relief programs makes this irrelevant. This town is who sent this money, and a majority of the participants or a majority of the citizens participated. C, the amount of aid that victims of a disaster receive is unrelated to the extent to which the disaster is publicized. No, we don't know that. Just because the earthquake one was publicized, we don't know if the amount of aid is related to that or not. D, once a disaster has struck them, people are more likely to aid others in need than they were before the disaster. Absolutely, I love that one because that makes sense why there's been a change. E, people are more likely to aid those who have experienced a hardship similar to one they themselves have experienced than to aid those who've experienced a dissimilar hardship. This is what I naturally predicted until I read the end of the article. And the reason that E is wrong is because they weren't hit by a flood. That's where I thought it was going to go. They were hit by a deadly tornado, so it is not the same hardship. So our answer choice is going to be D.